Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Money Down Pod. That is Sean White. I am Kayvon Izami. Welcome to the NBA Reaction Pod as we break down the first couple of games as through the first round. Couple 1-1 series, a couple 2-1 series, couple 3-0 series. What in the world is going on in the NBA as we got some injuries too? It has been a wild time. That is my good friend Sean White. Follow him on Twitter at Dumpster Fire Fan. You can follow myself at Kayvon_sports. And please follow the show at Money Down Pod. Sean, how have you been enjoying these playoffs so far? Got the draft next week. A lot going on, man.
Yeah, it's been a good playoff so far. I mean, highly rated too. I think everyone's really watching it. It's been fun to watch this. I'm kind of surprised because not having LeBron in usually kind of knocks those ratings down, but it's actually been highly rated. Everyone seems to be enjoying it. Everyone's watching that KD Boston series, with the Nets going back and forth. It's been a good one out there. The Warriors, are they back? Good storylines in this first round. I really like it. I've been wrong on a few series, gotta admit already, but we'll get to that later on in the pod. But it's been good so far.
Yeah, I mean it's been wild, man. It's been absolutely wild. Some of these things that you just talked about, how you've been wrong on, even I've been wrong on. It's just you can't really predict it. And Draymond said it best, man. I don't know if you saw this quote from Draymond after last night's game, but he said, some people just aren't made for the playoffs. He said they're great in the regular season, and then the playoffs come around, they realize it's a whole different ball game. And I directly think that was a shot at Jokic. And listen, Jokic has had a tough last 2 years in the playoffs, but I also want to point out that he hasn't had Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. He had Porter Jr. last year, but he didn't have Murray. We'll get into that as we go here. I still don't think there's much excuses, but just to the point of it's been crazy, Draymond Green said it, man. The playoffs are wild, and some of these players out there are showing us that they're not ready for what is at stand here. So let's get into it, especially the biggest thing going on, man, and that is the Boston Celtics 2-0 against the Nets. Now, I want to be very clear because I'm going to go off on this here. But before I do, I just want to be clear. Some people are acting like it's just been like two slaughterhouse games. The Nets easily could have won both those games. Okay, now they didn't because of their leader. They didn't because of KD. You can pin both of those losses on Kevin Durant. Terrible defense in the first game, terrible shot making in the first game. And the second game was one of the worst games he's ever played in his career. Disgusting. You can pin both of those games on Kevin Durant. I just want to get that out there. These games were winnable from start to finish for the Brooklyn Nets. And everybody did their job except Kevin Durant. Which brings me to this, Sean, and I won't go too long so that you can take this. This is what I've been saying about Kevin Durant from day one, man. It's what I've been trying to preach and harp on from day one about Kevin Durant. When you put Kevin Durant on a 73-win team that's already won a championship, that has two of the greatest shooters ever, maybe the two greatest shooters ever, in Steph and Clay, you're going to see some of the most beautiful basketball you will ever see. I mean, it's going to be unstoppable. He's going to look amazing. It's going to be poetic because he's not getting doubled and triple teamed, because he can't, because there's Steph Curry and there's Klay Thompson over there. So he's going to be able to look like he's amazing. But when you then take him and you make him be the man, this is what happens, Sean. What we are seeing in this series is what happens. He gets double teamed. He gets triple teamed. When the coach understands how to tell his players to get physical on him, and he can't handle that. And that is why from day one, I have said he will never, he has never, and he is never going to win a championship as the lead guy on a championship team when he doesn't have absurd superstars, greatest shooters ever, 73-win teams around him. It's just not going to happen. That is not his bid. That's not his build, man. He's a phenomenal scorer, and he's actually gone to be a decent passer. But he's not somebody that can say, hey, bro, get on my back. Get on my back, get on my back, get on my back. I will take you guys to the promised land. That's not his build. That's not his game. And the only reason why I keep bringing this up is because Kevin Durant wants us to. He's the one out there bitching and moaning how he wants to be talked about with the greatest. Well, you want to be talked about with the greatest, Kevin Durant? This is how we have to talk about you. Because to me, you can't even sniff that platform that we talk about Jordan and LeBron and Kareem, because they carry teams. They actually put teams on their back and carry them. And if you look at Kevin Durant's career, man, what the hell has he done outside of being on a 73-win team? What has he done? He had Westbrook and Harden. He went to one finals. He won one MVP. He's had Kyrie Irving the last couple of years. I understand it's in and out, but you still have Kyrie Irving, and he hasn't gotten past the second round. This is who Kevin Durant is, and I've been screaming it from the rooftops from day one. And what will happen is he'll probably go out tomorrow, and he'll have a good 30-point game and 35-point game. And people are going to be like, oh, see, look, it's Kevin Durant. Great. Win the series, and then win the next series, and then win the next series. He won't do it because he can't do it, and he never will do it. It's facts.
I knew you were going to get heated on that. You've been heated on it since that second game that he played, and that was the worst game I've seen KD.
I mean, bro.
And I'm a huge KD defender, and that was a horrible game on his part. But he knows that. He's got to bounce back and bring this series back on his back if he's going to be included in these conversations that he wants to be included into, as you alluded to. I think where me and you disconnect is historically on it. When you say like that I don't know, when he's talked about with the greats, are you saying that he wants to be in the argument that he's like one of the greatest of all time?
I think,
or are you saying that like back when he went to the Warriors, he wanted to prove that he was the best player in the world at that point over LeBron?
I think both. Well, first of all, I think he went to the Warriors because I think he felt that was his only way of winning a championship. I think he knew he can't do it himself, so he had to go join that Warriors team. But I think he wanted to be the best player in the world, and he never was. He never got that crown, because even in those games where he beat LeBron, LeBron still showed how superior he is because he put a team on his back. And KD was just doing it in poetic motion because it was just single coverage because you have Steph Curry and Clay over there. But I also think, Sean, it's a great question. I think he genuinely wants to be put in as the greats. He talks about it, man. He said it. I'm one of the best players ever. I'm Kevin Durant. You can't guard me. Well, Kevin, and then this is the other thing, man. I always hear people say Kevin Durant's such a good scorer, he can play at any era. Do you see what Boston's doing to him? Imagine what would happen if he played with that against that 90s Bulls team. If he played against the late 80s Pistons team. They would throw him to the ground. 7 foot my ass. They don't care. He's not fit. He is his build, man. It's not his fault. It's the way he's born. He's a great shooter, but he's not big. He does not have the full-on skill set and the build to carry his team. But he wants to be talked about that in both sense, to your question.
Yeah, now that's true, because Boston is actually playing this like it's the 90s, and Boston's getting away with it. I texted you during the game. I don't think I've seen this in an NBA like series. I think in like maybe 10 years, something like that. I really haven't seen this for a while. They're literally getting fouls called on them constantly, and they're just still playing physical. Like they just play so physical that they can't call that many fouls. Like they're like, you're going to have to call 30 fouls on us right here. And the refs aren't going to do that in the playoffs. And that's how they're playing. Now, will it get a little bit sweeter when they go back to Brooklyn and the home cooking's not there a little bit just because you don't have the crowd on you? We'll see. We'll see if that kind of changes. But I do expect KD to come out and have a big game. I did want to push back a little bit right here because I know it's fun to debate back and forth. Me and Kayvon have said this. We see a lot of things eye to eye in a lot of ways. But in the NBA, we have a few disagreements. And I want to push back right here because – I know you don't think so, but I actually think that the year KD won it with the Warriors, I think he did become the best player in the world that year over LeBron, which is going to shock you for a second, but let me explain. Okay. I don't think they win that series without it, and I don't think LeBron was all that triple covered. He had that squad. That Cavs squad was stacked. And I think they beat any other team out there if KD isn't on the Warriors and playing at such a high level on defense and offense. He came down, he hit the clutch shots against LeBron with him guarding him. I felt like that was KD kind of taking that title for him, even if it was just for a year. And even if he was on a stacked team, because LeBron's team was stacked that year as well. It's just he didn't have the four with Draymond added to it where KD did. But I think KD came down, was the sniper that year. And that's where I agree with KD on that. I feel like KD felt like he was better than LeBron at that point, and I felt like he proved it on that. Now, how long did that last? Not long at all. He got injured like close after it. He didn't hold the crown at all. And I do think that when we talk about greatest discussions and top 10s and top 15s of all time, I do think he's not in that list as of right now because he hasn't gone to win one where he's the main factor and the main star like that, because that's what you have to do. I don't think he can compare to LeBron's career, but I do feel like I understand where he's coming from, that he felt he was the best player because that Cavs team was going to stomp down anyone if KD hadn't went to the Warriors and helped carry them over the top of that.
So it's a great bounce back here. That's a great point. The Cavs team was phenomenal. It was phenomenal. But even as good as that Cavs team was, they weren't the 73-win Warriors, bro. Like that's my whole thing is that Cavs team was really good. He had Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, man. Like, I can't compare that to Kyrie and Kevin Love. And we're going to get into this in just a little bit about Jordan Poole. Steph Curry brings so much attention, man. And look, I'm not saying that KD was not clutch in that finals. KD was clutch. He hit the shot over LeBron. LeBron made the right pass before that to Kyle Korver, who was wide open and missed it. And Kyle Korver to this day talks about how that haunts him. And then they had to come down and hit the shot. KD was clutch. And that's why when I go on this whole soliloquy, I put in there that he's a great player. He's a great scorer when he has the pieces around him to take everything off him and just let him play ball. But when he has to actually be a leader and have the antics around and shut everyone up and put the team on his back, he can't do it. I just don't think that even him making that shot and him playing that way, I still just can't put him in for 1 year. I mean, if that's going to make him happy with people saying he was the best player in the world for 1 year, okay. But I still can't do that because of the team that he was on, man. Like, I just, that's ridiculous to me. Like, you just were up 3-1 against them, and then you blew it, and you had to go join them. Like, no crap, they're going to, I think that Cavs team could have been the Bulls, and the Warriors would have won. Like the Bulls back with Jordan. Like, how do you beat that team? And then even if KD didn't get hurt, LeBron immediately snatched it back the next year when he took the Cavs team without Kyrie to the finals, which, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, he beat this exact same Celtics team in the Eastern Conference Finals. Now, you want to say they're different, they're more mentally strong now, they have a better coach now, that's fine. I would agree with you. They have the exact same players. Derek White is the only difference there. Okay? like this, and Jeff Green was his second best player in that series, and he went 7 games. So, like, that's my whole thing here. If you want to give him the best player in the world for that year, go ahead. But I can't personally do that because of who he was playing with, man. You could have dropped 15 points a game out there with Steph Curry and Klay Thompson as your teammate.
Don't disrespect Grant Williams and Peyton Pritchard like that.
Yeah, you're right. Hey, Grant did go 3 for 3 from 3 the other night. I actually that is disrespectful on my end.
I will give this one rebuttal. I'll let you answer, and then we probably need to move on. But here's my one rebuttal to that argument on the year thing. I understand it's Steph and Klay, but LeBron was still the best player in the league when he was playing with D Wade and Bosh back then, and that was a far more stacked team than any of those other teams at the time. And
but nothing compares to the Warriors.
It's right there, but
bro, you can't. They were 73 wins. They won the Wade and Bosh. They won a championship already. 73 wins. Look at what this Warriors team is still doing to this day. This is a historically incredible team, man.
You rate Steph and Clay like way up there. I understand. I get that too. I understand your point you're making on that. I understand. I get that. Like I said, we slightly disagree on that. I just kind of feel like KD feels like he was the guy for that 1 year, and I can kind of give it to him on that just because he came down and proved it. You believe he had too many people around him to do that, and I still gave LeBron his props when he had D Wade and Bosh, and no one else was really competing with that back then. So that's kind of how we look at it. You view Steph and Clay just way above anything on D Wade and Bosh, and I just give D Wade and Bosh more credit to that level, I guess.
It's not even how I view them; it's how the opponents view them because of the way they play. I mean, man,
okay, you're going full system too.
The way that these people guard the Warriors, like they give the respect to Steph and Clay more than the respect they gave to D Wade and them, because they can't just pull up from 30 freaking feet and hit shots all the time. It's absurd what they do out there in terms of just the system and how they play that makes a guy like Kevin Durant playing free basketball out there. That's my whole point here. I just want to say one more thing and then we can move on, because this argument, man, is driving me berserk. And I got to get this out here. If I hear one more person tell me, well, Kevin Durant took the Milwaukee Bucks 7 games last year. Ladies and gentlemen, they were up 2-0 before Kyrie Irving got hurt. Kevin Durant won 1 game. He didn't win 3. He didn't win 3 against the Milwaukee Bucks. He won 1 game. They were up 2-0 against the Bucks, and then Kyrie got hurt. And then Kevin Durant won 1 game after that. Look, if he didn't have Kyrie from the start of the series and he took that shit 7 games, well done. He couldn't win 2. He won 1 game, and then he airballed the overtime shot to win the series. Like, one more time I hear that, people are acting like he didn't have Kyrie the whole series. They were up 2-0, and then Kyrie got hurt in game 3, and then he went on to win 1 game. Like, that argument to me is just stupid. Like, Kevin Durant, go and win the East, man. If you really think Ben Simmons is what you have Kyrie Irving. You have Bruce Brown, who went for 23 the other night. Seth Curry at 4 threes. Dragic hit 18 points off the bench. And the one guy that didn't show up was Kevin Durant. Like, go and win this series, man. Make me eat crow. Win this series. Win the next series. And listen, Sean, the East is wide open for him now. Middleton's hurt.
It's wide open.
Joel Embiid might be hurt. The Miami Heat are all up and down. They just lost to the Hawks. This is his moment, man. Like, maybe Ben Simmons is coming back. There's no more excuses, bro. Go win the East. Book's out, hurt West. Like, go win the championship, man. And then I'll never talk like this again.
Yeah, I feel where you're coming from on that. That was just a great first opening segment for this. I knew you were fired up. I wanted to make sure I got some rebuttal in, really pushed you, had some nice debate going on that, just because we do have slightly different viewpoints. But I actually want to twist this into the Warriors, since we were already talking about them, because this is what's driving me crazy. And I might be one of the first people to say this on here.
I think you are. I think you're
going to agree with me.
Yeah.
But we're kind of overreacting to this whole Jordan Poole thing. Like, can we slow down a little bit? Everybody acting like he's the third Splash brother, like he's just out there going to be an all-star, just Clay and Steph. The Warriors are back because Jordan Poole's in the starting lineup. Look, Steph's off the bench, like all this and that. It's driving me insane because I picked Denver, but I thought Denver was going to run through Jokic and play more methodical and really actually show up. None of their players have showed up. Not even Jokic.
None.
They completely no-showed this, and I really didn't take into account of this. The reason why the Warriors are where they are right now is because freaking Clay and Draymond are playing like Clay and Draymond. That's why they're back. It has nothing to do with Jordan Poole dropping 30. It's
Awesome.
because Clay is out there lasering people again like we hadn't seen all
In
year. And
5 3 games.
Draymond is out there being an antagonist. He's driving Jokic crazy, and he's making every good basketball play. I mean, wide open dunks, wide open threes. They give it to him at the top of the key, how he always had in his prime. He was always the engine that made him go, and he makes the right basketball play over and over. That's what's brought him back. And now Steph's kind of back healthy, and he's back playing the way he is. Jordan Poole's just an added benefit. Jordan Poole is just an upgraded kind of Harrison Barnes in this thing. Jordan Poole's that extra fourth guy. The reason why they're back is because they're back being the original Warriors because Clay and Draymond are back. And it's driving me crazy because we're acting like he's just doing all this against a Nuggets team that really has no defenders that can defend on the outside against these guys. And like I said, you wanted to eat crow about KD. I'll happily eat crow if he goes out and just torches a duo like a Dylan Brooks and a Bane if they play Memphis and they're D'ing him up on the outside. Or even better, if he goes and torches some of these Suns defenders if they play, if Bridges is guarding him and all of a sudden he's just heating him up, okay, then I'm ready to go as far as a lot of these people are going. But people are going on and on, almost acting like this dude's a Hall of Famer in the future, man. He's played one good series. Let's chill out. Like, I don't understand it at all. And that's a huge contrarian take right there, but I fully mean that, like, completely. I don't understand it.
Yeah, so to give you guys a little peek behind the scenes here, Sean texted me this the other night, and it was so perfect because I literally the other day was watching a lot of these shows like the Coward Show, which me and you both love. Colin's awesome, and Ryan Russillo and these guys, and even some of these guys on like Kendrick Perkins, and they're just going off about Poole. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, look, he's a good player, but I mean, they're talking about giving him a max deal and all this stuff, and I'm just like, whoa. And then when you texted me that, I was like, okay, like he's making great points. Like he's thinking the same way I am. And this is you hit it on right on the head. Draymond Green, and to be honest, man, and I'm done with this, which it kind of just goes right back into my KD point. Draymond Green is playing like he did in those 4 years where they met the Cavs in the finals. Dude, this guy, listen, I've always Draymond Green I've started to like a lot more over the years. This guy's incredible, man. The way he makes his size not an issue is something I've never seen in basketball before. He goes
It's like Barkley. That's the closest thing to it. It's like Barkley.
It is, but it might be better defensively. It's not. He's not offensively better than Barkley, obviously.
Yeah, better defensively for sure. But that's how it is. Like Barkley used to box like 7-footers out and just out rebound them to death. It's weird. It's weird to watch.
Weird, man. It's wild. And he defends them so well. He gets up under them. He gets in their skin. Draymond Green is playing 2015, 2016, 2017 level defense. And Klay Thompson's hitting lights out shots again. I think the guy's made 5+ threes in every single game this series. That is 5 threes in the NBA a game in the playoffs is really hard, guys. Like that's really hard. And that's what the guys say. It's just when you have guys like that, and then you have Steph coming off the bench, again, someone's going to be wide open. And Jordan Poole is, hey, credit to him. He's answering the bell, but it's there on a silver platter for him. He's just got to take it. And I will give the Warriors credit. They are really good at developing players. Like we've seen this. They know how to do this. Next thing you know, it might be Kuminga that comes out of nowhere. But this whole fascination on just Poole himself, it needs to chill. We need to see way more of it. To me, it's just a product of the system. It's not the player. It's the product of the system. And again, I think if you, a couple years down the road, you might see Kuminga do the exact same thing because it's the product of the system. Poole's a good player, but all this nonsense about naming him the pool party of the Splash Brothers and all that stuff, like, I get it. It works out perfect because his last name's Poole and it's Splash Brothers, but like, chill. Let's see him really play some fierce competition because this Denver team's terrible. Like I'm just, and again, it's credit to Jokic for getting them. This Denver team's awful. It's awful. It's a really bad team. I mean, it's a really, really bad team.
Without Murray and MPJ, they can't score like in the playoffs. And what Draymond said about like some people aren't built for the playoffs. Yeah, because he's up in you and nobody can get a shot off. Like
Exactly.
that's what it is at this point. So I mean, we did see Jokic kind of in the West in the bubble. He had Murray. Murray was going for like 40 in some of those games in the bubble. I mean, let's see him with his full
I mean,
confidence.
they made it to the Western Finals. They
Yeah,
lost to the Lakers.
against
Yeah,
the Lakers, yeah, and played well. I mean, like I
very
said,
well.
let's see them get back to full strength with their three guys, and then Aaron Gordon on top, because Aaron Gordon's having a terrible series.
Yeah.
I mean, he's played as bad as he can play,
He
and it's
is
because
not
he's a
worth the
fourth
play.
option guy.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
but
Exactly.
yeah, let's see that instead of having him guard Poole on the outside, where Poole can just blow past him.
Yes, because Gordon has freaking cement feet against Poole. He can't move against Poole, which I want to tie this in because we're going to bring up the 76ers now here. I want to ask you this, and I don't think I'm being recency biased on this. This is just, I think Joel Embiid's the best player in the world right now. I think he's the best player in the world right now, and it just made me bring in because of Jokic. I think Joel Embiid will deserve the MVP this year. I think Jokic is going to win it, but I just think right now, man, and it really hurt my heart when I saw this update today that Joel Embiid has an injured finger. Now he's going to play through it and everything, and I'll get the exact diagnosis of what it was. But I think Joel Embiid is the best player in the world right now. What do you think of that?
I think he's top 3. It's hard for me to put him at number 1. It's hard for me to put him over Giannis just because Giannis is so gifted defensively, and even though Embiid plays well defensively too, I don't know. I just feel like Giannis sometimes can take over games by himself, even though Joel does that as well. The real one that I want to watch, though, I really think Luka's up there, dude. I really think Luka's up there. And I really, it makes me sad that he's not back yet. But at the same time, it makes me happy that Brunson and Dinwiddie's holding it down to get him back to full strength, you know, because I think he's dangerous this year with how wide open things are. And the way he was playing before he strained that calf, I don't know how you stop him. It was very LeBron-esque kind of where he was the offense. He come down, and if it was a bucket made, he either assisted it or made it himself. And that's where I can't really go that far with Embiid because he doesn't dominate the ball like that.
That's fair.
And I love Giannis, but again, Giannis sometimes in the playoffs can just get walled off, man. Like you're going to watch the Heat play him well if they play.
They do.
And that's one thing I worry about, especially if Middleton's out, because we're going to talk about injuries as well. But I like your point there, and I can put Embiid up there. I really just hope he's not hurt too bad because I do got to eat some crow on that. Like I said, I was wrong on the Nuggets. The other one I was very wrong on. I thought Toronto was going to really take it to Philly. Now, I know Barnes got hurt in the first game, which really hurt them. But Philly's really taking it to him, man. I mean, it hasn't really been close. Toronto just doesn't have a real star to take over a game, whereas Philly's looking like they have 3 with how Maxi's playing. So I've got to give Philly props. They're playing lights out. Hope Embiid's okay because I want to see them move on.
Yeah, dude, Maxey is becoming something crazy. I knew Maxey was going to be good. I didn't see this coming this fast. I mean, I did not see it coming this fast, and it's starting to make me wonder, man, about Philly. Can James Harden just be because listen, James Harden is getting heat because he's not the James Harden we've seen in Houston, but James Harden has quietly become just an incredible facilitator. Like he is setting Maxey and Tobias Harris up with some of the most perfect looks, and Joel Embiid as well, I've ever seen. And it makes me start to wonder, man, can Philly go to the finals with Harden being the facilitator and Embiid and Maxey being scorer 1 and 2?
I think that's the actual case, and I think that's what he wants to do because you saw him do that with Brooklyn. Yeah. That's what he was doing when they were rolling last year and when they had them all healthy for that little stretch, or even when KD was out and it was him and Kyrie. What he did was Kyrie played off the ball and Harden was getting like 12 assists a night. He was playing straight point guard. And Harden never got credit for that. It's a little like how I'm talking about Luka, how Harden used to play. Harden used to play that system where he either scored or assisted every time, but he never really had the teammates that he could set up for them to then make a move and go. He always had to put the perfect pass for them to catch and shoot. Now he's kind of putting passes to where it's like, okay, Embiid, you want to spin right, spin left, and he'll lead the passing to him to do that. All
Yeah.
right, Max, so you like it here, one dribble pop. Let me hit you with a perfect pass to get you momentum going to where you beat the defender in a quick step. And Harden's actually really good at that. He just never got credit for it because he played with all catch and shoot guys. So I actually love that. I think that's exactly how they need to play. And he can score when he needs to, but he needs to keep facilitating and passing because I think it works out perfect for him.
I completely agree. And it seems like, just like you said, I never thought Harden was okay with being that kind of player, but it seems like he is okay with it now. And it's made Tobias Harris look as good as I've seen him since the Clippers. I mean, he's like actually shooting well now. George's Niang's shooting well. A lot of people are shooting, and it's all in Harden and Joel Embiid freeing up space. And if Matt, that's the key though. If Maxey falls off and they need more scoring, then that's going to have to change. But as long as Maxey can keep this shot up and keep doing what he's doing, then I think they can. And I think you're spot on about that. And that's going to be fascinating to see. Where do you want to move from here? Let's quickly hit on these injuries now because of what's going on. Look, it sucks what happens with the Suns. Listen, man, why we're recording this right now, it's 41-41, 5 minutes left at halftime, game 3, New Orleans, Phoenix. Like, this might be a 7-game series, Sean. And we did a list, me and you, a couple weeks ago of the 5 players that have the most pressure. And we both put Chris Paul on there. I think you had him at number 4. I think I had him at number 2 or something
I
like that.
had him at 5 because I
5.
just didn't think he was like,
Yeah. And I had him at 2. That pressure's ramped up now. That if Devin Booker is not there, and listen, again, it's CP3. He's done so much. You can't hurt your legacy, but they can't lose to this New Orleans team. They can't. They cannot do that. CP3 has to step up and win this. Now, if you go out to, which I think they will, by the way, a Mavs team in the next round, if Luka's healthy and Devin's not, I think the Mavs beat the Suns. I don't think we see the Suns in the West Finals if that's the case. I just don't think it. But I'll let that slide because you got Luka and this Jalen Brunson's looking great. But Chris Paul's got to beat this. He has to carry the team on his back, or at least play well enough and support guys with his assisting that the team plays well enough to beat New Orleans.
Yeah, completely agree on that. Chris Paul's got to be moved up on the pressure because he's the guy now. He's got to make sure he's passing the ball around to the right people and getting them scoring. Got to play good defense. Book being out really sucks, man, because I really think the Suns had such a good shot this year, and I really hope Book can come back. I hope they can get this series done. I really hope Book and Luka both come back and they go head-to-head in that next series because I'm telling you, if Luka comes back healthy and he's about 90% to 100 of what he was at the end of the regular season, dude, they got a shot, like legit. Because I know we're talking about the Warriors. They actually match up with them because they play so small as well. That death lineup doesn't affect them as hard.
No,
because
it doesn't.
They're going to play small with them as well. And I know the Warriors' defense turns up, but I'm telling you, Dinwiddie, Brunson, and Doncic, all a bucket, dude. Like, they can all get one at any time. I like that team, and I really do think they can get the Suns if Book don't come back healthy. That's for sure. So they got the Suns need to win this series to even get.
They have to. They have to. Yeah. And they have shooters as well. They have shooters in Finney Smith is a shooter. They got Dinwiddie. They've got a lot of guys out there that they're athletic, and that's why you're spot on about why they can match up well, because they're athletic. They can match up with that death lineup. So you're spot on about that. What else did we want to knock out here?
The last injury was Middleton, which I think is actually very important.
It is.
I think this is a Giannis series now.
Yeah,
it's like a go prove it, Giannis. You're the guy, go prove it kind of series, which I actually like to see from Giannis, man, because I do think Middleton kind of bails him out a little bit in the end of games, which is why I struggled with that over Doncic like that. I really do struggle with him or Doncic as my best player right now, and I understand you throwing Embiid into that. I can see that. This is time for Giannis to go prove he's the best player in the world right here. You don't have your number 2 guy who's kind of your go get a bucket guy when you need one, because like I said, they'll wall him off because he's not a shooter. I want to see Giannis go carry because DeMar DeRozan's due for another 40-point night somewhere because he doesn't miss from the elbow. He just doesn't miss. It's the closest thing to like a Kawhi, like Michael Jordan type game. They just go and just mid range the whole time, just doesn't miss at all. It's
It's
crazy.
absurd. It's wild. I'm completely with you though, man. It's time for him to step up. Giannis needs to win this series on his own, get Middleton back, and see what happens there. Because I'll tell you this, man, I don't know if they can beat Boston without Middleton, unless exactly what you said, Giannis does his things and takes it down all the way and bullies his way to that win. We'll see what happens. But overall about it, it just sucks what's happening with the injuries. You don't want to see this in the playoffs this time of year. That's the last thing you want to see. And I just hope everyone comes back.
Yeah, I don't really have a solution for that either because they're doing load management. I mean, they miss games all year. I don't really know.
People are going to complain about that, but if you look at the injuries, man, it's like it's basketball stuff. It's not load management stuff. Like a lot of these injuries are just basketball. I mean, Chris Middleton like rolled up on his. It happens on the court, you know.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. Like a lot of people complain about them sitting out, but they are sitting out and they're still getting hurt. Like I don't really have a solution for them to not get hurt at this point because they're doing everything to not get hurt. I mean, like Book and Luka's a calf and a hamstring. Like it just happens, man. Like I don't know what to, I don't know what more to do for that. But yeah, so we have the two topics left. If you want to go, you want to do Memphis and Minnesota, or do you want to do Utah?
Let's do Utah, and you hit on it first. I'm sorry, guys. My dog is whining to get on my bed. I got to pick her up. She's old now. You start with Utah here.
All right, yeah. So first, we're just going to talk about Utah because they're kind of out in no man's land at this point because they've been together for so long, and really they're at that kind of turning point. Are they going to be kind of how the Blazers were with CJ and Dame and just refuse to break them up and just be happy with making the playoffs? Or are they going to be like, all right, we got to go big. We got to get rid of either Gobert or Mitchell and really try to get this thing going and find a different player, different combo to go do. Because if you did see it, McCollum's kind of putting the Pelicans over the top right now without Ingram's playing. That's been a completely different team since that trade. And we haven't seen Dame Lillard yet, but we're going to kind of see a big shift in how Portland plays next year. And I'm curious to see what they do. So really it's going to come down to, is it time for Utah to blow it up or not? And I personally think Mitchell's probably not going to let them choose. I think Mitchell might be done with them.
I think it's over. I think they're blowing it up no matter what. I think Mitchell's going to make it happen. I think you're spot on. And I think what's going to happen is they're going to start young. And then you hit on CJ real quick, man. I said this back in the trade deadline too. I didn't understand why more teams weren't clamoring to get him. That dude can ball, man. That dude he changed everything for that Pelicans team. Like more teams should have been after him. He is a missing piece for a really good team to take them far. Pelicans aren't that, but back to Utah. Mitchell's going to force his way out. Gobert's going to get traded. I think he might go to the Hornets or the Bulls, two teams that really need center help. And for some reason, those two teams I would watch out for. I would watch out for this. Utah might trade. Now, I don't know if Mitchell's going to be down with this, but I would watch out for Utah trading Mitchell to Atlanta and getting a bunch of their young pieces back, like John Collins. Collins and Trae Young do not mesh. They don't like each other for some reason. Maybe they get Kevin Huerter back, the Red Rocket dude who can shoot the ball. DeAndre Hunter's a good young player. They have some good young players that Utah can kind of start over with. Now, I think Utah first is going to try and say, hey, Donovan, if we'll get rid of Mitch, if they're smart, they're going to go up to him and say, we'll get rid of Gobert. And will you run this thing back with us? Because it's Utah, man. No disrespect to Utah, but the way they build is through the draft. Not many people go and pick there to play. So
I'll say nobody goes and picks there to play. I think them in Sacramento are the last two places.
So you got to do it yourself through the draft. Right. No one's picking it to them to play there. So they're going to have to beg Donovan Mitchell first. Don't do this. But I think you might be right. I think he might say, I'm out anyways.
Yeah. And number one, I would hate that trade to Atlanta that you just said.
Really?
Honestly, yeah. So what I did notice, I've been watching Utah recently in the playoffs because Gobert's defensive player of the year, but then he just gets destroyed in the playoffs because they all play 5 out on him.
They all play small, yeah.
Mitchell can't guard anybody either.
Yeah, Mitchell.
Like, I would hate having Mitchell beside Trae Young. Neither of them can guard anybody.
It would be the most offensive-centric team ever, which is what Atlanta already is anyways, but you're right
yeah.
about that.
Yeah, so that's why I'd hate that. Like, I mean, yeah, him and Trae Young, cool, that'd be fun to watch.
It'd be
But,
awesome.
I mean, they ain't winning anything like that.
No.
I mean, are they trading Gobert there, too, to just stay at the rim?
No. That would be terrible.
But yeah, I think they got to blow it up. You're right on that. That's a weird situation because again, it's Utah, and really they put together teams and then they fall apart, and then all of a sudden they're back. It's kind of a strange franchise like that.
Yeah,
they lost Stockton and Malone. Then they made that run when they had like Corver, Darren Williams, and like the 5 like solid players, and then they have this Mitchell and Gobert thing, and they never really get over the top. But they end up they never rebuild for long, so that's credit to them.
They're a good franchise.
Yeah, we'll see what they do. I don't know how I feel about Danny Ainge being there. I don't love Danny Ainge as an executive.
I think he's done well. I think he's gotten to this point now where it's kind of fizzled out. He did well in his past, but it's kind of fizzled out now. And it's also Dwayne Wade is a part owner there too. That's a part of this. He could lure some guys in there. It's not going to do anything great, but they're going to rebuild. It's over. Donovan Mitchell. And listen, Knicks fans, you might finally have your wish because I actually think Donovan Mitchell is the one guy that will force him way to New York. Like, I'm just saying, watch out for Atlanta. Watch out for Miami, too. Miami will be in on Donovan Mitchell. I promise you that. But
and Miami can actually cover defensively behind him, too.
They can. Yeah. They can. And they have a lot of young, enticing pieces as well. But I think when it's all said and done, Donovan Mitchell wants to be in New York, and I think he ends up going to New York. That's my projection. And I think Gobert goes to the Bulls or the Hornets, but I would say the Bulls. Let's finish it on this, man. The most crazy game so far in terms of just shocking was last night with Memphis coming back twice from down 20 points. And this is a loss that's just devastating for Minnesota, bro. Like, how do you do? First of all, why did Chris Finch not call a timeout? It's such a young team, dude. He didn't call a timeout. When you get to a 10-0 run, you call a timeout. Like, it's not like you have Draymond Green or LeBron out there cooling everyone down. Like, call it. It's a bunch of young guys. Call a timeout. Oh, but Beverly, right? Beverly's supposed to be the leader there. Yeah, get the hell out of here, Beverly. You do nothing for that team. Minnesota, I honestly think, Sean, was going to win that series if they won that game. And I think it seriously felt like that, man, because they kind of outplayed them in game 1 and 2 as well. Now, Memphis went on a wild run in game 2 and it changed everything, but Memphis has not looked good. Jaw has not looked good. I'm wondering if Jaw is still hurt, man, because he looks weird. He looks off and he doesn't look good. But my whole point of it is Minnesota's done now. You can't come back from that.
Yeah, I don't see how you come back from that at all. Especially with like the mic'd up cat head and then he shot like 4 shots. Like,
that's pathetic.
Like, why is he not playing? Like, he wasn't involved like at all. I don't understand it.
I don't get it, man. He's
a strange case too, man. Like, I don't understand how that goes. Like, he's a strange case with some of these stars. Like, he's so talented, but then he'll just disappear every now and then. And it's almost like a Kentucky big man curse, dude, because AD plays like that every now and then. It's weird,
I would
man.
agree.
Super weird. But you're right. You can't come back from that. And Ja hasn't looked right. I don't know if it's an injury thing. I don't know if it's adjustment to the playoffs where they're more physical and they pack the paint a little more. But with them packing the paint, Memphis is hitting their threes. So, you got to watch out for that. I think the Warriors are going to get them just because of experience at this point. And like I said, that's not overreacting because we already did our thing about Poole. But I do think that'll give the Warriors a better test.
I think it will be a good series.
I think the Warriors are just going to outcoach them and outthink them, really, because it's just playoff experience against the youngness. I do think Memphis needs this series, though. I think they need to move on to get that experience going forward in the future and to get Ja ready to, like, understand playoff basketball more and more because you can only do it by playing it. But you're right. That was an epic – 2 epic comebacks in the same game. That's just insane. You got to feel bad for T-Wolves fans for sure. But, I mean, they're a young and up-and-coming team too. But come on, Karl-Anthony Towns. You're the leader on the team. You got to get out there and demand the ball a few times and make the bleeding stop.
Yeah, and I don't want to be this old guy on the lawn, but I don't know if you saw this, but his post-game press conference too, he was asked about it and he said, next question. No, No, you got to stand up there and take that, bro. Someone asked you why you have more fouls than shots. You're Karl Anthony Towns. You have more fouls than shots, bro. That's a disgrace. Like, you can't do that, man. And the only thing I will say that gives men, if you're a Minnesota fan, that you can maybe have any hope on is that this team is so young and naive that something like this just like, I mean, because Anthony Edwards a baller, man.
Well,
Something
Anthony
like this
Edwards don't
might,
have a conscience. He's going to be ready to score next
yeah,
game.
like
So.
this, and D'Angelo Russell, it might just go right out of his head. Like these things, it might just go right out. That's the only thing. But again, I think now 2-1. I think that they got the Memphis got a game on the away floor. I think Memphis is winning this series, maybe in 6. Maybe they get another game, but I think they win in 6. And I do think the Warriors will beat Memphis, but I think Memphis will give them a nice little test. So
Completely agree.
that is all. What a pod. What a day. This is the Money Down Pod. That is Sean White. I am Kayvon Izami. Thank you all for tuning in. Follow us on Twitter at Money Down Pod. Let us know your thoughts of everything we talked about here today. And remember, for you NFL fans, we will be doing a live show on draft night next Thursday, live for the first round, reacting to every pick along the way. So tune in for that. Thank you. And have a good night. Once again, follow us on Twitter at Money Down Pod. We'll talk to you next week.